In this discussion, we will discuss the discussion question of discuss the meaning of the term relevant data as it relates to managerial accounting. If we see a discussion question or essay question like this, our goal typically is to expand on the discussion or essay question, being more likely to pick up what is being asked for within an essay question, and the expansion or adding to a conversation is generally going to be the idea that we're looking for with regards to a discussion question. Keeping that in mind, let's go through this again. Discuss the meaning of the term relevant data as it relates to managerial accounting decision making. So we have a key term here. We've got the relevant data and we've got managerial accounting decision making. So we could start by basically thinking about those key terms. We could start by saying, well, managerial accounting is going to be for internal decision making as opposed to financial accounting, which is generally going to be for external users, basically the compilation of the financial statement. Managerial accounting is going to be oftentimes more of an internal process, breaking things apart to improve the internal workings, the internal system with managerial accounting decision making. Relevant data then is going to be an idea or concept that we're trying to pick up that information that's going to be most useful or most relevant to a particular decision. And of course, when we're making managerial decisions, there is a lot of data. So the question often is, it's not a question of getting the data that's there oftentimes. It's often the point of how do we get rid of the excess data and get down to the relevant data for the particular decision so that we can make the best decision we can. Oftentimes, we often think in terms of managerial accounting of financial data, but relevant data doesn't include simply financial data as well. We're going to rely heavily on financial data, and we'll try to quantify the data as much as we can, whether it be financial or not, so that we can do a good comparison with it. Numbers are easier to compare. But we could have financial data and non-financial data as well. When we're thinking about relevant data between decisions for managerial accounting decisions, we're looking at the basically costs that are avoidable costs or costs that would differ between the two decisions, and also revenue that would differ, incremental revenue that would differ depending on the decisions that we make. The two costs that are really beneficial that often come up with managerial accounting is going to be out-of-pocket costs and opportunity costs. So out-of-pocket costs are going to be those future cash flow type of costs that we typically want to think about as relevant costs when we think about decision-making processes. Opportunity cost is going to be the cost of the item that we did not choose, the thing that we did not select is going to, we need to take into consideration the path that we're not going to take when we choose one path or the other, because that's going to be part of the cost or part of the decision-making process. It's important to note a cost that should not be included, and that's going to be a sunk cost. So a sunk cost, something that's a common error of putting into the decision-making process, but something that is actually in the past and therefore shouldn't be relevant in the current decision-making process. So non-financial information could include things like the environment or politics as of now, the economic environment that we would need to consider when we make these decisions as well. So we're going to take the financial data, and then we're also going to consider and plan out, okay, what kind of environment are we in? What other things could change and affect this decision-making process? Might this decision have some type of social impact or impact on the perception of our company that would be important to take a look at? Or, what's the political setting? What's the economic setting at this point in time as well? Those things, of course, being more difficult to measure, more difficult to quantify, but very important to consider.